The chaos erupted in the most surreal way. Flashing red lights, shouting, and my 16-year-old son being shoved into a golf cart by two men in knockoff uniforms. For a moment, my brain stalled. How do you even pull something like that off legally? My heart exploded into motion. I dropped the rake and sprinted for the front gate. "Get your hands off my kid!" I bellowed, torn between disbelief and pure fury. The taller guy mid-50s, balding, mirrored sunglasses. The physique of a man deeply committed to Saturday beer leagues didn't even flinch. "He was trespassing," he barked, like that justified grabbing a teenager. "This is HOA property. We're authorized to detain for violations." "Oh, were they now? That's cute. Let me back it up. I own 10 wooded acres about a half hour outside the city. Bought it back when this place was considered the middle of nowhere. I moved out here for the quiet. Built a chicken coop. Renovated an old red barn with my son, Eli. We grilled steaks on weekends, kept to ourselves, and didn't bother anyone. Then came the invasion. 3 years ago, Silverwood Summit sprouted up next door, identical houses, white picket fences, and the kind of HOA that thinks it's a shadow government. For the record, I never signed a thing. My land predates their little fantasy world. That didn't stop Tiffany Beckett. Yes, that Tiffany. Queen of Silverwood. Lives in the biggest house, drives a white Escalade with a vanity plate that reads Madam, and wears tennis skirts like she's angling for a Real Housewives spinoff. The first day she showed up at my door with a compliance packet was the day the war began. According to her, my tool shed was an eyesore, my chickens were a noise violation, and my son, get this, was unregistered. I politely told her she had the wrong house, the wrong guy, and the wrong jurisdiction. She didn't take it well. From there, it escalated. Passive-aggressive letters, mystery garbage dumped near our fence line, anonymous calls to animal control. You know, HOA warfare. But this crossed every line. Eli had been doing his morning chores, feeding the chickens and checking the southern fencing, when those two goons rolled up in a golf cart with the HOA logo, acting like they were the HOA's personal SWAT team. They saw a teenager in a hoodie and decided they were judge, jury, and jailers. What they didn't know was Eli isn't just any teenager. He's the godson of the local police chief. He's polite, sharp, and always recording when something feels off. His phone was already rolling by the time I stepped in. "Sir, we're authorized to detain individuals violating community rules," one of them said, posturing like a bad action movie extra. "Your son refused to give his name and attempted to flee." Eli, still in boots dusted with chicken feed, looked like he couldn't decide whether to laugh or swing. "I told them this isn't HOA property," he muttered. "You grabbed a minor. On private land." On camera, I snapped. "That's kidnapping and impersonating law enforcement." The short guy looked at the golf cart like it might save him. "We're just following Tiffany's instructions," he mumbled. Of course they were. I walked them off my property myself, barely resisting the urge to throw one into the chicken coop. Eli followed, shaken but playing it cool. "I'm good," he said, brushing off his jeans. "But I think they tried to take my phone." He handed it to me. "Still recording." We had everything. 2 hours later, Tiffany showed up, strutting like she was on her way to a courtroom drama audition. "Your son was trespassing in a restricted zone," she declared, phone in one hand, clipboard in the other. "He is now banned from all Silverwood communal areas, and we are assessing a fine of $250. I stared at the patch of grass she was pointing at. "That's my chicken coop," I said. "On my land." She blinked. "We've updated the HOA boundaries to include this area. It's in our spring newsletter." I laughed. "You just annexed my land? What is this, the Crimea?" She sniffed. "The board voted. Majority rules." Then she handed me an eviction notice, printed in Comic Sans. "Lady," I said, holding the paper like it was radioactive, "I'm going to frame this. Funniest thing I've seen all month." Her face went tight. "Actions have consequences." I stared back. "So does impersonating law enforcement and kidnapping a minor. You'll see." Once she stormed off, I made a few calls, first to Eli's godfather, then the FAA. Turns out, filming over private land with audio is a big federal no-no. And guess what? Tiffany's drone had audio. Eli had the footage. The next day, Tiffany tried to hold a hearing on my property. She rolled up with folding chairs, a fake gavel, and HOA board members carrying lemonade and clipboards. It looked like a community bake sale gone rogue. She marched up to my porch like a discount dictator. "This is your final opportunity to cooperate." I didn't move from my rocking chair. "You're trespassing again. And this is the dumbest cosplay I've seen since Comic-Con hit the mall." She turned red. "We are executing a lawful HOA disciplinary hearing. You and your son have violated numerous neighborhood standards." I stood up, whistled. Eli came from around the barn with a manila folder, property records, boundary surveys, and footage. Karen, I mean Tiffinitwitched. "The juvenile may not be present during disciplinary proceedings," she snapped. Eli handed me the folder with a shrug. I opened it and said, "This land is mine. It never was and never will be part of your HOA. You've trespassed, harassed a minor, impersonated law enforcement, and flown illegal surveillance equipment. Now you're holding a fake court on my front lawn." She sneered. "We'll see what the sheriff has to say." She motioned for one of her lapdogs to call him. Perfect timing. Sirens cut through the air. 3 patrol cars pulled up. The HOA tribunal froze. Out stepped the police chief, Eli's godfather. He looked around, taking in the ridiculous setup, then shook his head like he'd walked in on a kid microwaving tinfoil. Tiffany tried to talk. "Officer, thank goodness. We were just concluding our hearing." "Detain the 2 men in the golf cart," the chief said. "We have video of them unlawfully detaining a minor." The cuffs came out. Tiffany panicked. "You can't do this. He's HOA security." "HOA security is not law enforcement," the chief said. "They have no right to detain anyone." "But he shot down my drone. Did you have permission to fly over private land?" he asked. "Silence. That drone recorded minors without consent. That's an FAA violation." Board members started backing away like extras in a disaster movie. The chief looked at us. "You two okay?" I nodded. Eli shrugged. "Better now." The chief turned to Tiffany. "This ends today. The next time I get a call involving you, it better be from your lawyer." As the cruisers drove off with her fake enforcers in the back, the HOA members melted away. One even offered to help fold chairs. Tiffany stood alone, her banner flapping sadly in the breeze. But she wasn't done. The next morning, a black sedan with tinted windows pulled up. Out stepped a guy in a cheap suit. "Mr. Wallace," he said, "I represent Silverwood Estates." I sipped my coffee. "Lawyer for a fake government? That must be fun." "Your property now falls within expanded HOA boundaries," he said, dropping a thick envelope. Eli walked up. "Want me to feed it to the goats?" "Tempting," I said. "But no. We're going to burn them down by the book." I called my cousin Maddie, a powerhouse attorney who once got a judge to apologize to her. She showed up 2 days later with a briefcase and a vendetta. We reviewed everything. Privacy violations. Trespassing. Fraud. We sued Tiffany and the HOA into the next century. Tiffany retaliated with slander, letters accusing us of being dangerous. But neighbors weren't buying it anymore. Even better? The FAA report dropped. Turns out Tiffany had flown 3 drones, 2 with audio, 1 with thermal imaging. 1 captured kids at a pool party. She was fined. Hard. Criminal charges pending. Silverwood's HOA collapsed. Board members resigned. Golf cart patrols vanished. Someone hung a new sign at the entrance. "Welcome to Silverwood, now 100% Tiffany free." Tiffany sold her house at a loss. The buyers named the rooster I installed at the edge of my property Cluck Norris. Life returned to peace. Chickens, sunsets, and steaks with Eli. Sometimes people stop to shake my hand. Eli calls me the sheriff now. I don't mind. Because every time I see that 12-foot cedar rooster, I remember that when someone tries to build an empire on your land, you make them pay rent with humiliation.